In a game with as many features as Stellaris, there's bound to be a few things that annoy players to no end. Today, we're counting down the top 10 things Stellaris players hate. First up on our list, we have wonky pathing. One of the more recent additions to the game was science ship automation. Overall, it's a great feature that lets you tell science ships to automatically seek out work in a variety of different tasks. But of course, it's not without its quirks. Now, to be fair, almost every option works just fine. The one that's a little bit balked is investigate anomalies. And to be fair to the science ship, it does actually investigate anomalies. But the problem is, it has no concept of what anomalies are useful and which ones it should investigate first. So it's got just as much chance of clearing out all the anomalies right next to it in your borders that are useful as it does of just going off to the opposite end of space to investigate an anomaly that you will never ever get to and never get any benefit from. So far, the only other option is to manually queue up every single anomaly using shift clicking, which means if you want to clear out your borders first, it's going to be a long few minutes of clicking for you. Now, it's no major gripe that's going to ruin your game or anything, but it's pretty annoying when it happens all the same. Next up, we have Enclave trade deals, and this one goes out to all my Total War boys. So you're well into your game, and you've met all the various enclaves, including the various traders. You're getting on with your game, doing wars, building up your empire, generally being busy, as is often the case in the later game. And just as you're settling into your flow, a message pops up from a trade enclave asking for some kind of trade deal. Now, to be fair to them, sometimes they do have some bargains and it's well worth the price. Other times, it's something totally worthless and you're never going to accept it. The problem is that you reject them and all they do is come back to you with the same dogshit deal over and over again over the next few months and years. Somehow they don't get the message that no, I don't actually want to trade a planet's worth of pops for 16 food. And they just keep pestering you. It's like one of those street vendors constantly shouting a deal at you that you're never going to go for in a million years, yet they keep shouting like a capitalist foghorn leghorn. It's more of a minor annoyance than others on this list, but it is an annoyance all the same. Carrying on in that same vein, we have annoying pop-ups. Now, Stellaris is basically a menu-based game. If you removed the map part of the screen, you could probably play the game just by going between all the different menus. But have you ever been deep in these menus with the game on pause trying to sort out something intricate, when all of a sudden there is a pop-up that locks up your entire screen to tell you that you found an anomaly or something equally worthless that you don't really need to know about in that moment? And when it rains, it really seems to pour. As you desperately try to get back to what you're doing, more and more pop-ups arrive and completely ruin your train of thought. It always seems to get me when I'm trying to build star bases, which is pretty fiddly at the best of times, and 17 pop-ups closing the menu I'm trying to open doesn't really help that. I think this one is just so bad because of the rapid build of frustration when it happens 4 or 5 times in a row. If it was just once, it'd be an annoying but small interruption. Stack 5 of those in a row, and I'm sitting at my desk desperately trying to pause the game so I can continue my work unbothered by more bloody pop-ups. Next up, we have stupid sectors. Sectors are of course how we group up planets in Stellaris, with each one getting a governor to keep things running smoothly and provide some nice bonuses. Ideally, you want to have as many planets in each sector as possible to get as much bang for your buck, but sometimes the galaxy is a cruel mistress. Sectors have a range of 4 jumps from every planet inside, so if a planet spawns 5 jumps away from your last planet, you're shit out of luck and you need to make a new one if you want that planet to get any bonuses, and even then you'll need to hire an extra governor, which eats up your precious leader capacity in the process. When it happens once, it's frustrating, but there are also those rare times when it happens over and over and over again, and you end up with like 5 sectors with 1 planet each, and it can really start to become a bit of a joke. It's one of the quirks of the infinite replayability that is procedural generation, but it stings no less when it happens yet again. Coming in 6th place, we have the quote-unquote random tech tree. Now, the tech tree in Stellaris is confusing at the best of times, but once you know sort of how it works, you can work towards specific technologies relatively easily. Well, you should be able to, but sometimes the randomness of the tree can seem not very random at all. For example, let's say you're building tall and want habitats as soon as possible. So you've been grinding Voidcraft, but it's still not popped up. It's like the game knows what you want and is just withholding it to spite you. I swear, I unlock habitats decades earlier in normal games when I don't even need them than when I'm trying to rush them when I'm building tall. And of course, it's not limited to habitats, it can be anything. Need more naval and command capacity for wars? Too bad, here's some edicts funds instead. Need to unlock energy buildings to fix your deficits? I'm sorry, have you considered a life of agriculture instead? Whatever it is that you want, you know that the research screen is going to offer you just about anything but that, and there isn't really much you can do about it, but hope it changes its mind next time. Breaking into the top 5, we have losing high-level leaders. With the latest DLC and update, leaders in-game are more valuable than ever. The leveling system in particular means leaders get more important the more skills they pick up, and by the time they reach max, they can be holding your entire empire on their shoulders with the right build. Okay, maybe not quite that important, but they'll still be doing a lot of good for you, whether that's in the form of bonuses or just being stupidly good at their job, so even the thought of losing them can be too much to bear. Well, it is inevitable with most organics, eventually dying of old age, and it hurts all the same. But losing a high level leader to something a whole lot more avoidable or just plain bad luck, that's when it crosses the bridge from annoying street to incredibly irritating avenue. For example, let's say you have an expert explorer who is finding all kinds of extra resources and anomalies and opening up the map at a rapid pace. But oh no, they ran into some aliens who just so happen to instantly blow them to bits before they can even think about retreating. In a moment, they're gone, taking all their levels with them, and there isn't really anything you could have done to prevent it happening. Even when you're playing as a machine empire where leaders never die of old age, this can happen. And don't even get me started on random malfunctions. Out of nowhere, your leader just dies for seemingly no reason other than to spite you. No matter how it happens, losing high-level leaders to avoidable BS will never not get my blood boiling. In fourth place, we have starting the game next door to aggressive neighbours. I think we've all experienced this one at one point or another. You load into your game, get into the groove of it early on, exploring, expanding, and all that other stuff. You meet a few neighbours and complete first contact, only to find out you're right next door to a ticking time bomb. Now it can be another empire like an exterminator, so while it's going to be aggressive, you're on the same power level, so you stand half a chance of surviving. It's still pretty bad and is going to set you back, but at least you'll have half a chance of getting to the later game. But if it's something like a fallen empire and it's blocking your only way out to explore, well, it's back to the main menu for you because there is no chance you're getting out alive. The reason it's so damn hated and annoying is the fact that you don't know how bad the situation is immediately. Sometimes you can be playing for an hour before you realise the trap you've been spawned into, and there's no way out and you've pretty much just wasted the hour of your life. I don't know about you, but I'd rather find out in 5 minutes, but without cheating, there's no way to know. And if you do cheat, and there is nothing there, you kind of spoil some of the fun, so you can't really win. Just explore as fast as you can every time to figure out if it's going to be a bust or not to save yourself as much time as possible. Coming in third place, we have accidental fleets. This one always gets me when I'm deep into a tough war. So you've done some battling and your fleets need reinforcements. No worries, the button is a single hit and friendly ships will make their way over to fill up that fleet. Just a couple of stragglers left, so you decide to send the fleet out for more battling. You click on them using the map and give them some orders, only to realise you've also selected all these single ship fleets on their way to reinforce, and now they've got some actual orders, they become their own fleets, no longer interested in reinforcing the main fleet. I mean, technically you can merge them, but it's going to mess up your template. If you have multiple fleets in one place, it can be hard to know which ships belong to which. What I'm getting at is, it is a headache you'd rather just avoid. Fortunately, it's relatively easy to avoid. If you just select fleets from the outliner, this shouldn't happen, but every time you forget, they'll appear to remind you just how impatient you are. And I know I haven't got time to listen to that, I've got shit to do. It's even worse if the reinforcements are on their way and the main fleet loses a fight and goes MIA. Then you can't just merge them like any old fleet, instead you have to let them sit around waiting for someone to follow. Just be patient and let the fleets all merge to full HP before sending them around to avoid as much headache as possible. Coming in second place, we have pretty much the concept of war exhaustion. Now this one is right down the middle, since sometimes it can be incredibly useful, but other times I just want to outright remove it from the game. War exhaustion, of course, accumulates over the course of a war. The more one side has, the more likely they are to accept less favourable terms of surrender, since their populace are pretty sick of all the terror of war. So if you're in a regular war and all you want to do is take a few systems or humiliate the other empire, getting them to max out their exhaustion can get you what you want, just like that. On the other hand, let's say you're a machine empire and you want to purify the other empires and wipe them from the map. Well, that war exhaustion that just maxed out means you are forced to take a 10-year break so your robot population doesn't get too tired of war. Let me just reiterate, it's an empire of robots whose entire purpose is to exterminate all organics. How can they possibly tire of war when it is all that they are programmed to work towards? I don't care about them surrendering and taking penalties, I want them gone. And I have to wait 10 years because I'm not allowed to refuse their surrender? This isn't some medieval lord bowing down to me, this is an inferior species of organics that must be purged, and I don't have time to wait 10 years. It puts you in this weird situation where you have to speedrun your wars and take as much land as quickly as possible before they surrender and save themselves. Like I said, it can be a good thing, and in general I'm glad it's in the game, as the constant eternal wars would get pretty exhausting. But when it's not working for you and is instead totally against you, I'd rather just go without. And in first place, I think that we can all agree on this one. And we all play Stellaris to feel like a big brain and live out our fantasies of being the Emperor from Star Trek. But there comes a point in game where it just becomes too much. You have too many planets to manage them manually, so it goes on to automation. Your research is flying so fast that you have to set on automatic choices there too. Just managing your armada of military fleets in the endgame wars, keeping the other empires at bay whilst also dealing with an endgame crisis or two and some fallen empires, it's just way too much for any one person to think of. And the game becomes you pausing to give orders, then wait a few minutes to see what happens before repeating. You basically switch everything on automatic that you can to save yourself some brain power, and even the best case automation is going to get a lot wrong, meaning you're kneecapping yourself in the process of trying to free up some mental power, which just drains you even more. There's a reason that a lot of people don't close out every single game of Stellaris, and it's not just the insane length. We've heard about war exhaustion, but mental exhaustion, now that's the #1 killer of any campaign in Stellaris, and absolutely the thing that, while I appreciate it's kind of the point of the game, It desperately annoys me to no end when I get to that point. And that's my list. If there's anything you think I missed, then leave it down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and if you want to know what noob mistakes to avoid in Stellaris, then check out this video here to see the top 10.